Welcome back to World According to Briggs and another rant video. Like I said in the other rant videos, people ask me all the time for an explanation or a story about different places. They don't want a list, they don't want stats, and they don't want to see any graphs. Just give it to them straight, no BS, like I'd explain to my friends. Today, we're doing just that with New York, America's original overachiever with seasonal depression. So buckle up, because just like the Cross Bronx Expressway at 4 p.m., this is going to move slowly, involve some swearing, and make you question why anyone ever thought New York was a good idea. This video is about the entire state of New York, but there's going to be a lot of focus on New York City, and that's because most people moving to New York move to the Big Apple. That is also where most of the interest and most of the people are. So to quote Dennis Miller, I don't want to get off on a rant here, but New York City is a mess and a decent state all at the same time. This is where you'll find New York City, one of the most undesirable cities to live in, but at the same time, it's one of the greatest cities on the planet. Some people can't dream of living anywhere else. YouTube legend Casey Neistat always dreamed of living in New York City while he was growing up in the shadow of the Big Apple over in Connecticut. After a few decades of living there, going through the bad weather and the chaos, he moved to a beach community in Southern California, wanted to try a new life. After about a year and a half, he realized he couldn't live without New York City and headed back. He's just one of 1,000 stories that follow the same roadmap. Diana Veras, a girl I follow on social media, just moved back after trying New Jersey for a couple years. She couldn't handle not living in the city anymore. There's an undeniable draw that is hard to explain. It's also hard to shake. The city is a mess. It's crowded, it's got insane traffic, and criminal housing prices. Let's start where the pain is the loudest, New York City. The place where you can spend 2 paychecks to share a hallway with a roommate named Black Mold. The rent is so high you need a job, a hedge fund, and a miracle to get a lease. People say, but it's where the dreams are all the time. They say it. I don't know what it is. Sure, your landlord's dreams. It's your dream if your dream is standing on a radiator in a 5th floor walk-up, whispering to a window AC unit, trying to convince it to exhale something colder than a human breath. The housing market? It's a scavenger hunt designed by a Bond villain. That's the only way I can explain it. People hunt for co-ops, condos, HDFCs, and sublets, all for the privilege of paying more a month than your parents made in a year back in the 1970s. You'll pay insane prices and probably end up living above a karaoke bar that caters to chain smokers and people with Tourette's. Your window faces a brick wall, and your quiet block has an impromptu drum circle that starts precisely at the moment you try and fall asleep. Your 60-year-old neighbor raises pigeons in his apartment and likes to walk the hallways of the building in his tighty-whities. No shame whatsoever. Welcome to New York City. The cost of living, absolutely unhinged. A bagel is $11. A coffee is $6 if you want it to taste like anything but regret. Groceries cost a month's rent unless you're cool with buying produce that looks like it's been in an unrefrigerated truck for a week in Arizona heat. If you want to save money in New York City, here's the trick. Don't live in New York City. Cook at home, they say. Fantastic advice for a person whose kitchen is 4 square feet and has a stove that's purely decorative, like a museum display titled, How the Poor People Used to Live. And taxes? Oh, they got taxes. New York has never been afraid to treat the locals like an ATM machine. You'll get city tax, state tax, and a random surcharge called something like Metropolitan Resource Quality Initiative Improvement Fee. They always have these grandiose names, but then you just find out they just needed more money. But don't worry, they got public transit. The MTA must enjoy trains playing peekaboo with your schedule. Delays are about as common as goats are at petting zoos. You'll learn the joys of standing on a platform in August, sweating through your soul while a rat drags a slice of pizza over your shoes. The subway is where perfectly normal adults transform into amateur contortionists trying to avoid touching a mysterious sticky spot on a pole. It's also where you'll discover things like a guy in a cape performing a stand-up routine about his failed marriage. This is culture, apparently. The weather? It has mood swings. In January, your eyelashes freeze into tiny ice sculptures, Upstate, the snow doesn't fall, it settles in for the season. It registers to vote and starts attending PTA meetings because it's going to be there a while. The lake effect snow in Buffalo shows up like a surprise party thrown by Mother Nature with a baseball bat. Summer, it's like a wet sock. Heat radiates off the concrete like a hairdryer aimed directly at your butt crack. The humidity turns your subway station into a terrarium for humans. Spring and autumn are beautiful, I'll give it that. Then it's back to your regularly scheduled sky tantrum. Speaking of Buffalo, let's talk about crime. Buffalo is the kind of place where people are genuinely nice and the chicken wings are spectacular. But the crime stats read like a bad rumor that won't quit. Entire neighborhoods are working their guts out to make things better. And then, boom, another headline and another reason your aunt in Florida texts you, "Are you sure you don't want to move down here?" The city's got heart, but the punches don't stop. And the reality is tough. People do their best, but the numbers don't exactly make you sprint to Zillow to see what's available. One day I'm just sitting around minding my own business when I start getting bombarded with robocalls. I thought it was strange until I realized some data broker had my information and was selling it like street tacos at a Cinco de Mayo festival. What most people don't understand is your information, it's out there. Google your name and buckle up. Seriously, it's kind of scary how much you can find about someone just by Googling them. That includes your sensitive information too. I'm always trying to keep my family's privacy safe, and let me tell you, it could be a full-time job. You have to search through sketchy websites, contact people, and get your information removed. That's why I'm actually pumped about today's video sponsor, Aura. It's an identity protection service that does all the internet digging for you. They find where your information has been leaked and then they delete it. Plus, they monitor your credit, keep tabs on data breaches, and even alert you if your phone number is being passed around to robocallers. Speaking of robocallers, I used to get so many spam calls every single day. Ever since I started using Aura, they've practically disappeared. I also get emails from Aura that say things like, "Hey, someone just searched your social security number. Want us to handle it?" Yes. I've tried a bunch of different identity protection services before, but they were all scattered across different apps and websites. Aura keeps it simple, everything in one place. So if you're even remotely worried about your personal info floating around online, Aura is worth checking out. They're giving my viewers a 2-week free trial, so just go over to aura.com/Briggs and put in your info and see what comes up. You'll probably be shocked at what's out there. That's aura.com/Briggs. Back to the video. Let's discuss the state's identity crisis. New York is 2 planets sharing a DMV. Downstate is cabs, fashion week, and 80-minute arguments about bagels. Upstate, it's barns, bass boats, and 40-minute conversations about whether this winter was a real one or just a warm-up. Drive north of Yonkers and the whole vibe shifts from hurry up, hurry up, hurry up to sit down, relax. The roads are lined with for sale signs and diners named after the owner's aunt. Beautiful landscapes up north? Absolutely. Prosperous? Depends on the county and whether the paper mill stayed open another year. Property taxes up there aren't much better than downstate, like in New York City area. Own a modest home and you'll enjoy a yearly invoice that looks like tuition at a private college. What's included? School levies, town levies, county levies, apparently a levy for resenting levies. You get plow service in the winter and potholes in the spring, which is a nice balance if you enjoy seasonal whiplash. Infrastructure feels like an old VHS tape. It works until you press fast forward. Bridges that groan, sidewalks that heave like they're trying to escape. Then you head on up to Albany. Albany, the state capital that nobody visits unless they're forced to by law or insurance paperwork. And it runs the whole show. It's where bills get introduced, debated, and then pinned to a corkboard until everyone forgets what it was about. You've got regulations layered like deli sandwiches, heavy, messy, and guaranteed to give you indigestion. Want to start a business? You must file a form in triplicate, pay fees that sound invented, attend a boring seminar about compliance, then sacrifice a goat to the Department of Paperwork. If you succeed, congratulations. You get inspected by 3 different agencies who all show up at 9 a.m., the one day you weren't expecting them. Driving is a sport here. The Long Island Expressway is a parking lot with ambition. The Cross Bronx is an endurance trail where your reward for surviving is the Bronx River Parkway. On Long Island, every town has the same three stores: a bagel place, a pizza joint, and a dry cleaner named after the owner's first dog or something. You'll pay $16 to cross a bridge you didn't even realize was a bridge, and then $40 to park next to a hydrant that wasn't there when you arrived. The parking meters change personas like a soap opera star. 1 minute it's free, the next it's $8 per half hour, and it only takes quarters minted in 1975. The food scene, it's world class. In a lot of places, it's expensive, but let's focus on the comfort food that New York is really known for: the pizza, the Italian restaurants, and Coney Island dogs. Okay, so Coney Island dogs, I love them. It's a great place to eat, even though it's nothing special, but you got to eat a hot dog there. Then there's the pizza. I've been to maybe 15 pizza places in Manhattan, probably more, but 15 is a safe number. No more than 25. I've never had a bad slice there. Never. I don't know what they do to the pizza in New York. It is phenomenal. Not as good as Chicago, but good. They're almost two different types of food. Pizza in Chicago and pizza in New York. They're almost not both the same. But anyway, pizza in New York City, you have to have a couple slices when you visit, okay? And it's the same upstate New York, but it's not just New York City for the best pizza. I've had pizza in Albany, which was excellent. I've had pizza in Syracuse that was excellent. There's one other place, and I forget the name of the town, but it's somewhere near Elmira. Honestly, the food in New York City is great. They have high-end restaurants too that are terribly expensive, but I almost guarantee the food is going to be amazing. I've only eaten one really fancy restaurant, but everyone I ever talked to, they always suggest these really, really nice restaurants. That's not my type of food. I'm a hamburger, pizza, hot dog, Chinese food, and always Mexican food or Tex-Mex. You won't catch me in a French place or something like that. I'm not going to eat escargot. But people I know that do eat that stuff, they love going to New York, especially New York City for that type of stuff. You can't bash New York City or New York for their food because it's always going to be good. Nature, the Adirondacks are gorgeous until the black flies decide you're a sample platter. The Catskills offer serenity, overpriced candles, and towns where every shop sells vintage axes because somebody watched a freaking documentary on it. The Hudson Valley is where all the hippie artists went when they left Brooklyn. They fled New York City and discovered that the locals already know how to make their own bread. Meanwhile, ticks patrol the grasslands like tiny traffic cops, issuing fines in the form of antibiotics. Now, I will also mention that one of the most amazing parts of this country is the Finger Lakes region of New York. You got to see that. It's upstate. It gets pretty cold up there in the winter, but it is beautiful. Let's talk about the sports. New York fans are loyal the way a barnacle is loyal. The Yankees measure success in rings and rage. The Knicks have mastered the art of hope followed by therapy. The Jets exist. The Bills, God bless them, those fans are some of the toughest people alive, tailgating in a blizzard like it's a spa day, only to have fate hurl a snowball at their heart during the fourth quarter. The emotional roller coaster requires a seatbelt and a cardiologist on speed dial. Culture? Of course there's culture. Broadway dazzles, assuming you can afford a ticket. Museums are top tier, but you'll share the experience with 1,000 other people photographing a painting of someone they've never heard of, and they'll never look at the picture again. Nightlife, it's fun. You'll shout your orders over some kind of music that's made completely of bass, and then they charge you $19 for a cocktail that arrives in a mason jar. Let's talk about the crime. Now, I know a lot of you think we should just talk about the crime in New York City, probably because you watch cable news, and on cable news, they make it sound like people are being murdered by the thousands every single afternoon in New York City. I mean, people do get murdered. Not that many, not as many as you'd expect for a big city. They're actually relatively safe. They just overblow it on everything. I mean, they want to make the cities look as bad as they can, but the crime isn't as bad. Crime isn't nearly as bad as it was 20 years ago in New York. These days, you're less likely to be mugged, but you are kind of likely to be approached by a guy trying to sell a mixtape for $2 or, get your undying support on SoundCloud. That's irritating. Go to Times Square And these guys start talking to you and they're trying to sell you their music. It's weird. But they do have crime. In Buffalo, the stats don't need the neon sign. They'll show you who's struggling and where the system has holes big enough to drive a snowplow through. Rochester and Syracuse, they've had some rough times too. They've had a lot of plants close and things like that. And when the plants and the, main employers of places go down, crime goes up and they've struggled with it. Are they as bad as Southside Chicago? Absolutely not. Are they the next Camden, New Jersey? No way. They can't even touch Detroit. Detroit's like winning the crime Olympics. But they do have some crime. But a lot of it also has to do with their police departments are stretched, community groups are exhausted, and politics argue with itself while neighborhoods try to keep the porch light on. Jobs? Sure, they got plenty of them. If you speak Excel, Python, or some other coding, you got to be into finance or some kind of tech job to almost be guaranteed a job in New York or New York City. If you want to move there and work for the arts, congratulations, you're now a new Uber driver, because that's what's going to happen. You don't make money on art in New York, pretty much anywhere. It's all online. Tourism? Absolutely. It's wonderful, and it's not all just New York City. They've got Niagara Falls, which is stunning. It's also surrounded by souvenir stores selling shot glasses so aggressively, you'll consider going sober out of spite. The Finger Lakes, which I talked about earlier, are beautiful. Wineries are charming, and the mosquitoes fly flight plans at dusk. Upstate towns rebrand themselves as the next big thing every few years. New cafes, a yoga studio, an axe-throwing bar, and then winter arrives, and the whole place goes into a hibernation like some kind of bear with student loans. Let's not forget the housing upstate, where you can actually buy a house if you're ready to spend your weekends learning phrases like knob and tube wiring, and discovered your basement has been slowly becoming an indoor pond since the Clinton administration. Fixer-upper means the roof wants to be somewhere else. You'll also learn how to operate a sump pump, whether you like it or not. Now let's talk about the airports. LaGuardia was once described as if a bus station had a dream. It's better now, but baggage claims still have that reality show challenge vibe. JFK is the size of a borough, and it's riddled with construction cones. Buffalo's airport, it's efficient, but I think it's because people don't want to hang out in a place where the wind threatens to move your gate to Ohio. Let's talk about the attitude. New Yorkers love to say, we're not rude, we're in a hurry. Then, if that's the only variable, why do you keep hitting me with your elbow in the ribs? What's up with that? The state's official language is honking. The mating call is, hey, I'm walking here. Now, you want to look at medical care if you're going to move here. It's excellent if you can get an appointment before your condition evolves into a 12-pound growth. The ER is where time dissolves and the vending machine has a personality. You'll leave with a wristband, a parting gift of mystery gauze, and a bill that reads like a novel with a tragic ending. I'm not doing stats or graphs on this one, but the stats of New York's healthcare is pretty bad. They have excellent healthcare. It's just getting an appointment, its access to the healthcare is killing their statistics. Excellent doctors, excellent hospitals. You couldn't ask for a better place to be sick or something like that if you could get in to see a doctor. Really, New York and New York City, they've had their times and they've got some rough places like every place else. But they're really not that bad. I don't know if I'd ever move to New York. I definitely wouldn't move to New York City, but that has nothing to do with the trash, the crime, or anything like that. It's just there's too many people and it's too expensive. That just would not make sense for me to move there ever. But overall, it's a pretty good state to live in. I mean, that's why so many people move there for decades. Sure, the last few decades they've been losing people, but that's because it got too expensive. That for the most part, that's what it is. I mean, same thing in California. If you track it all down, it's not really the politics as much as it is the cost of living. Sure, politics do play a part in how the prices got that high, but really, they're just moving out because they can't afford it. And when a place is desirable, it gets expensive. When it's not desirable, Missouri, Kentucky, Arkansas, it's cheap. And that's why people are leaving New York and, Massachusetts and California and ending up in places like Arkansas and Missouri and Texas. In closing, New York is a legend, one that smells faintly like hot pretzels and wet dog. It'll chew you up and bill you interest and make you thank it for the opportunity. If that's your idea of romance, congratulations, you found your soulmate. For everyone else, there are 49 other choices where the weather won't mug you and the rent doesn't require a parachute. Choose wisely, my friends. Have a great day. Be nice to each other.